Welcome to Nexus Edge, the show that'll help you get an edge on your competition. My name is Turd Herder, and I'm, of course, your esteemed host of Nexus Edge. This week, we're going to go over Week 3 recap, and we're maybe going to touch on to Week 4 a little bit. I want to personally thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you enjoy yourself while you watch. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Today, of course, I'm joined by a full cast of ragtag heroes and villains, Arthanel being the villain. Starting at the top, we have our regular Nexus Edge panelist, Mr. Whoa No.
How's it going, Turd?
It's going great, man. Having a good time. Filling in for Ziltoid this week, we have our executive producer and chief villain, Arthanel.
How's it going, guys?
It's going good, man. How have you guys been so far this week?
Not too bad. Been playing a
No
lot
complaints.
of Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Yeah, that came out a couple days. Very nice. All right. And then for this edition of Nexus Edge, we've been joined by an exceptionally talented guest, none other than one of our NGS analysts, Mr. Riokaii himself.
Hey there, how's it going?
Going very good. Thank you for joining us. We, of course, very much appreciate you being on the show, being in front of the camera instead of behind the scenes like normal.
Yep, there you go.
So why don't you briefly introduce yourself?
Well, okay, I don't know where to start. I've been playing HOTS for a while. I'm slowly poking my head into everywhere, it seems like. Definitely all among NGS. So I was an analyst last season, analyst this season, now I'm on Nexus Edge. I'm playing on Team Rewind. I've played in Heroes Lounge before, been Grandmaster multiple seasons. I'm making videos now, I guess, on quick tips of little niche interactions and things.
I was actually going to ask you about that. So I watched your video for Battlefield of Eternity, where if you hide in the bush, you don't get hit by the little damage circles.
Yep.
That was really good. What other videos do you have?
I've put up like 7 of them now. I've been trying
to
release like one a day or something and posting them on Reddit. And yeah, those are getting good feedback. And I'm sure Wono can attest to this. Is kind of the reason I started making them was I was coaching teams and I kept having to say, I swear I'm the only person who even knows this interaction like works this way when I'm coaching them and telling people this. And people are really surprised and they're like, how do you even know this or whatever? So I was like, I should probably tell more people about this at some point. So yeah, that just seemed like the best way to do it. So
I found it on Reddit, but are they posted to your personal YouTube page?
correct. So
why don't you give a quick plug for that so people could find them?
I don't know that it has like a URL or something, but it's just Riokaii. Like my name is the same everywhere pretty much to make it easy. So
Perfect. So you obviously said you compete on Rewind, right?
correct.
And what role are you on Rewind?
I'm a ranged DPS player. I guess I'm mainly known for like playing like ranged auto attack type DPS and stuff like that. I mean, I do play mages and some of the melee assassins and stuff like that. I can flex a little bit, but probably mainly known for playing Phoenix, Rainer, Sylvanas, Vala. Those are probably among my top 4. So that is a pretty common thread there. So
There you go. And I like to ask this question: what is your favorite hero? It doesn't have to be one that you play all the time, unless it is. But what's your favorite hero? Favorite hero to play?
it's probably still Phoenix. I've played by far the most of him. He's close to level 100 now, so he's still fun every time I play him. So
Very nice. Love to hear it. All right, guys, before we get into our main segment here, I do want to take a quick moment to plug our Patreon. That's, of course, something you can find at patreon.com/Heroes Nexus Gaming Series. You've probably heard me say it before, but if you go on over there, you can sign up for different tiers, and you can get various levels of swag and other things. And it definitely helps go to support NGS, keep the lights on, and if you feel compelled to contribute to an awesome organization, that would be what I suggest. So please check out the Patreon. And all right, guys, let's get into it. This is the return of the power rankings. These are our personal subjective rankings for each division. We're going to go on through it, and if you disagree, let us know. If you agree, you can also let us know. That makes me feel good. But otherwise, without further ado, let's get right into it. Riokaii, start us off with Heroic.
all right, Heroic. First thing, Heroic, play more games. I need more games. I can't do this without more games. I need, please, I'm begging you. So yeah, Heroic is a bit tricky. There's like 3 different clusters of teams that have all played within each other, but not any overlap outside of each other, like to cross-reference and gauge in comparison to each other. So it's very confusing and hard to rank. And there's been so few games played with 2 of the drops. There's been forfeits. There's just been like 0 flex games scheduled. So yeah, it's a bit tricky. So at the top, I still have Mismo Skill Shots at number 1. They have 5 out of 5 dominations for their 5 matches played. So they're kind of the obvious choice right now. They're going to be the team to beat. Even if somebody could take a game off them, that will be probably a significant change at this point. Number 2, I put Yikes S tier. They finally had their Nexus Gaming Series debut, and they took a 2-1 over Keanu Reeves, who was ranked 3rd last week. So taking a victory over a team that was top 3 last week, I think currently puts them pretty highly on my list. So I gave them the number 2 spot. Number 3, I have Celeb Gaming. They had a domination over Dread Pirates, who is currently my bottom pick and the weakest team also last week in the league in Heroic. So until we see more games from them, I think Yikes is going to deserve higher. Of course, don't want to like disrespect Celeb Gaming too much. Of course, their performance last season and stuff like that has been very strong. So I would expect, the top to still be able to shuffle around a bit as more games get played. 4th, I have Keanu Reeves. They did, take the match loss against Yikes S tier, but they did also take a game off them. So kind of keeps them placed pretty highly despite getting a loss there. In 5th, I have Nobo Esprouts. These are pretty close between them and Keanu Reeves, I think. Nobo looks really strong to me. Their like team fighting coordination and macro definitely impressed me. And I've heard that they got coaching and they have an analyst now and stuff like that. So I think they're going to be kind of a dark horse team in this division that, especially come playoffs, you might want to keep an extra eye out on them for how they do. Next up here, I have BBW, and then below them I have Archon, and below them I have Amazing. All 3 of these teams are really close. Again, this is just kind of the way that the whatever mini clusters circles worked. Was they've pretty much all played each other, or all played other teams that are below or above them and had like similar results against them, but they haven't played each other really. So they're almost all 3 of those are like interchangeable. Amazing currently lost to Nobo Esprouts, so that is like of the teams that are above them, that's the lowest team above them. So in my opinion, that loss is like the worst loss to have had, quote unquote. Right. So currently they're the bottom for me out of those 3, but again, those are all like super close and pretty much interchangeable. Then I have Insomnia. They got beat by BBW. I'm not sure if that was a domination. I would have to double check. So that sees them kind of dropping down a fair bit. And then at the bottom, with no change from last week, I have Probe 1 and Dread Pirates. So most of the shuffling in the middle there is pretty much just a result of Yikes moving up a lot and Insomnia dropping down a lot. So
very nice. And it looks like I'm checking on that Insomnia one right now. It looks like... Oh, I don't know where they are on this website.
Yeah, there was a couple games that weren't reported, but I had to like go find in the VODs. That was probably a domination, if I had to guess. So
very nice. Makes sense to me. Wono, do you got anything to add to this?
No, Heroic is still kind of a mystery division just because of how few games are being played and reported on time, and
right.
The teams dropping obviously doesn't help with everyone's point totals being kind of inflated. Yikes S tier finally making their debut was probably the biggest change-up, as Riokaii kind of commented on there. So seeing them shoot straight to the top, I don't think is super confusing or super shocking to anybody. So I think I agree most part with what he's got on here.
Very nice. Arthur, what about you?
Play your games, please.
And report them.
And report them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
There was a match last week that my good friend Mark Zombie casted, and it was an absolutely awesome match on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and it'd be cool to watch more matches like that, but I think that's the only Heroic Division game that's been played. So,
oh, really?
Give me more.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think with that, we will move on. Get more games played, please. But Division A, who I think does have games played, Let's go over that. Riokaii, again, why don't you break it down for us?
All right, so at the top, again, no change from last week. We have Gilly Shark. They are probably currently still the team to beat. I think they're like 3 out of 3 or 4 out of 4 for dominations. So they're definitely still up there, still doing good. At number 2, I have Sky 5. This is mostly a result of my team, Rewind, moving down 1 at 3rd. We took a domination loss to Regen Ghost, and so that basically should hurt us on the standings, so Sky 5 is going to move up. I'll do the cop-out, that was a close O2 loss, taking one from Ghost Dunk there. But no, pretty much we got outdrafted, credit to Regen Ghost or whatever, and I think they kind of gave us a wake-up call that we probably needed, so shout-outs to them. At 4th, I have Team Training Wheels. This is they're shuffling. They moved up 1, but it's mostly a result of Team Happy Cloud moving down significantly. And Regen Ghost then coming in behind them. They moved up quite a bit, but despite their domination over us at 3rd, the rest of their matchups are a bit less solid compared to Team Training Wheels, so that's why they're just 1 spot below them. Then I have Wholesome Halfwits. They took a game off of Team Training Wheels and a domination over Regen Ghost, which they lost to Wipe Them Again, who is I placed just below them. But those two kind of outweigh the loss, I think, in my opinion, so that they're still above them there. Then I have Wipe Them Again. They moved down 1, but that's mostly a result of Wholesome Halfwits moving up. So kind of just a small shuffle there. Then I have Few Loose Screws. They took a domination over Once Bitten Thrice Pie. So that moves them up. Even though that is, a weaker team or whatever, just having a domination kind of puts you a fair bit ahead of some other teams here. Then we have Lion Speed, who dominated Team Happy Cloud. They did lose a game, though, or drop the game, I guess, to Once Bitten Thrice Pie. So not a super strong team. So comparing them to like Few Loose Screws, I thought Few Loose Screws is probably stronger, being able to get the domination. Team Happy Cloud then dropped down quite a fair bit. They did have a domination over Regen Retro, but Lion Speed has the win over themselves. And Team Happy Cloud still doesn't have very many games played, so I think kind of placing them in between those two is probably a fair spot for now. Then we have Regen Retro, who did move up. They dominated Into Deep this week, which is a much-needed first win for them, so they're going to move up a fair bit. Then we have Into Deep, who they took a game off of Regen Ghost, which is pretty solid, actually. I could see them moving back up a couple spots here. And so Lion Speed... hold on, I can't read this note. I don't remember what I was saying here. That's very confusing. All right, well, I don't know what that note means, but...
I think what you were saying is that, so Once Bitten Thrice Pie took a game off of Lion Speed, which is worth less than Into Deep taking a game off of Regen Ghost.
Okay, yes, that's exactly what I meant.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
No
So yeah, that's currently why they're above Once Bitten Thrice Pie. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
No?
And then, Once Bitten Thrice Pie coming in at the bottom, their losses are worse than Into Deep, so they're currently at the bottom for now. But that's Ghost Dunk's team, apologies to them. I think they could move up a fair bit if they turn their season around, but that's how the things are looking for now.
Sounds good. Wono, what do you think?
A is another super interesting division to me, just because aside from Gilly Shark being kind of firmly planted at the top, I mean, there's a couple top contending teams, but Gilly Shark's really the only one who's come out and just proven themselves solidly week after week, match after match. Other than that, everything is kind of in flux, as Rio stated here. There's a lot of shuffling up, a lot of shuffling down, a lot of like kind of mid-tier teams taking game or maps or games off of higher tier teams losing to teams they probably shouldn't, or kicking themselves that they lost to. So I expect to see more shuffling over the weeks coming up, because I'm not really sure what's going to happen in A, honestly.
Well, no, and it sounds like, especially, for Ryokai's perspective, losing a game to one team is making a difference to another team losing to a different team. So
yeah,
losing single maps.
Mm-hmm. All of these teams are kind of in flux.
Yeah.
Seeing how other teams do against other teams is kind of also impacting what the game results of A are impacting game results of game B, just because it's kind of showing you where about these teams are falling. So maybe this loss to this team doesn't actually matter as much because this team isn't as strong as you thought they might be.
Definitely understand it. Arthur, now, do you agree, disagree?
Yeah, so I agree. I'm surprised to see how Wholesome Halfwits is actually doing so far this season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they moved up from Division B.
Yes.
Them and Gilly Shark, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm surprised to see Wholesome Halfwits isn't doing better. I agree with the power ranking of them, which it looks like they've had a pretty tough schedule playing Gilly Shark and Team Training Wheels pretty early on. That's something I just wanted to note was them in the actual official standings being in 7th place, and that is pretty surprising to me, actually. I would have had them top 4 personally, but that's just something I wanted to note.
All right. Any final comments, Riokaii? Or are you standing by your rankings here?
People might think there's a tiny bit of regen bias in there, which there probably is. Or rewind, sorry.
Rewind.
Yeah. That maybe I should probably bump ourselves down 1 or 2 more spots based on our domination loss or whatever. I'm considering that to be a statistical anomaly, so we're gonna just.
If you disagree, you can come on the show and put your team higher. So
prove me wrong. Beat me in these games. Bring it on. All right.
There we go. All right, let's get on to it. Division B East. Wono, start us off.
I say, Rio, you don't want to put out that challenge because I did the same thing and we just lost 2 this week.
I'm sure I'll regret it a week or 2 from now, so it's all good.
Okay. So moving on to B East here. The biggest news coming out of B East this week is not 1, but 2 teams unfortunately dropping. So both Dive Hard and Almost Legends Ruby have unfortunately withdrawn from NGS for this remainder of the season. As far as standings go, that doesn't actually affect things too much because unfortunately Dive Hard was at the bottom and Almost Legends Ruby was kind of on their way down. But what it does do is it kind of inflates some stats for the other teams, gives them some extra points. So I'm trying to ignore that as best I can when making these power rankings. That being said, I actually didn't change my rankings 1 through 4 at all from previous weeks. There weren't a ton of meaningful games played by any of these teams. None of them played each other. Some of their match wins actually turned out to be forfeits, whether they played the team and they forfeited after or just got the forfeit points. Mm-hmm. So I do want to draw attention to Jailbait moving 6 places up to my 5th place spot. So Jailbait had a really strong week this week. 2 dominations, although one of them actually turned out to be a forfeit from the Real Ultimate Mosh Pit. So really 1 domination and 1 forfeit. They are still looking quite a bit better than they were early season. They seem to have kind of started finally hitting their stride. Buff Chen drops 1 spot down to 6th. So Buff Chen still in a decent spot. Part of their moving down was because of their loss, and part of that was just Jailbait kind of bumping up. Murky's hit squad stays solid at 7th. Regen Phoenix, too many Regen teams, you guys. Regen Phoenix takes a 2 spot hits down to 8th. They had a bit of a struggle this week. They got 2-0'd by Rush B, which was a what's the word I want? A rematch from the C grand finale last season. So Rush B, a team moving up. Regen Phoenix, not really Regen Red, but a couple of returning players. Arrow, the captaining that team. So I saw it as kind of a rematch from C, and was shocked to see Rush B pull out the 2-0. The Real Ultimate Mosh Pit moves down 2 spots. Rush B moves up 3 spots. So Real Ultimate Mosh Pit, as I said, they forfeited their match against Jailbait earlier this week, and Rush B got the 2-0 domination against Regen Phoenix. I would have loved to move them up further than 3 spots, but unfortunately Regen Phoenix, with how they've fallen, I can't really justify the 2-0 moving them much further than 3 spots for now. And then taking my bottom spot at 11th is Winston Churchill Manatees.
Very nice. Riokaii, I know you coach some of the teams in Division B, so do you have any differences, any thoughts from Wono's rankings?
I had a few differences. I initially kind of had Jailbait even moving up as high as 3rd. I thought, I thought it was just 2 dominations, so then Wono kind of corrected me that one of them was a forfeit, so had to kind of pull myself back a little bit on that one. I think Jailbait moving up does kind of help Regen Knights Black a little bit, which again, bias is full disclosure is the team that I'm coaching. So, but I thought their domination over Jailbait kind of now looks a lot better in hindsight. So I still had them shuffling with Beast Coast and swapping. But those might be like the closest top two in any division in NGS right now. So that is definitely still very much up for debate, and I think completely, subjective either way, pretty much. Most of the rest, I think I pretty much agreed with in the middle here.
It looks like you flip-flopped Minion Miners and HOTUS.
So HOTUS has a win over Buff Chen and a 2-1 over the Real Ultimate Mosh Pit. So dropping a game to a team that's pretty low seems worth just a little bit less to me. Minion Miners has a domination over Rush B, which, getting a domination versus losing a game and over a much higher ranked team is... I also had Rush B a fair bit higher, kind of swapping them and like Regen Phoenix and a couple other things. So just a couple of small shuffles there in the middle. I think the top and the bottom are pretty solid. It's just kind of those, 4 or 5 teams in the middle there that can still shuffle around 1 or 2 with a different team above or below them. So that's about it.
Sounds good. Arthnell, what do you think about these power rankings here?
So I have to admit that I think Jailbait's actually a bit too high. I would swap them with Buff Chen. I think they definitely deserve to be higher, but looking at their games, they dominated Murky's Hit Squad, which I believe that's a different team name now. Someone correct me, possibly. They got dominated by Regen Night Black, and then their other 3 games are forfeits. So I'm not entirely convinced that they should be as high as they are, because they seem to have gotten quite a nice luck of the draw with wins over here.
You're cutting off.
Oh, sorry. But their domination was quite convincing last week, so I do think they should be top 6, but I don't think they would be over Buff Chen, considering Buff Chen beat Minion Miners in a 2-1. I think Minion Miners is probably one of the more impressive teams to beat here. And so personally, I would put Jailbait at 6 and Buff Chen right at 5th, for Buff Chen pretty much not changing at all in the rankings.
Well, what do you got to say about that?
I mean, they make solid points, and all of this is kind of based on opinion, right?
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
we are going off of the match results and what happened week to week, but at the same time, it's also based on our preconceptions of how teams are. And if we think a particularly strong team loses, that's going to have more of an impact of a team that we internally think is a bit weaker.
Right.
I know Jailbait is a strong team. They were a strong team last season. They're a strong team returning. So while they may not have had the strongest start to their season, and some of their results might be clouded by some forfeits and other shenanigans going on in B East, I still think their 5th place ranking is justified.
Yeah, I don't think... I'm saying 6. That's barely any different.
That's a huge difference. Tell that to H2O and the other.
Well, just, solidifying his position as the villain on the show. Not a big deal, but moving right along. Whoa, why don't you break down Division B West for us?
Yeah. B West, my home division. Again, the big news story here is Logical Decision eating 2 losses this week, one of them being a domination. So whereas I originally had us sitting in 2nd, we have moved down to 6th. That being said, other than that, Uncomfortably Numb retains their kind of seat at the top. So Uncomfortably Numb, they had a 2-0 victory this week over Who Knows Gaming, who is still kind of just sitting at the bottom as far as a team I don't know a ton about and haven't really had any impressive results to move them up otherwise. Soak Every Lane claims a 2nd spot here, moving up 2 rankings. So Soak Every Lane had a great week. Where are they here? They 2-0'd Regen Blue, who is a team who we're still kind of unsure of their potential given the changes to the roster and the new Div B West around them. Unemployed Gaming retains 3rd spot, moving neither up nor down. So Unemployed Gaming also had a pretty solid week, winning the match against Regen and Reborn. You guys can't be in the same division. This is horrible.
Aren't they only in the same divisions? I think they are.
As far as they're just Reborn is just B East and B West, and there's a Regen team in both of those. So
yeah, Regen's in everywhere. So
Regen, yeah, you can't escape Regen. So I'm blaming Reborn for this one. Sorry, guys. Unemployed Gaming retains 3rd spot. They 2-0'd Regen Blue as well. So a tough week for Regen Blue, who moved down 2 spots to 7th. Reborn Knights Red and Running with Turtles both saw a 2-spot increase, taking 4th and 5th respectively. Both of those teams happened to beat my team this week, so given that Logical Decision was placed second, you do have to give them a couple bumping ups in the standings for taking up a top team. Deviled Kegs moves up 1 spot. Arrogant Nephilim moves down 1 spot. They just kind of traded there, and I think they were who played each other. Let me consult my little notepad I wrote down here. No, Deviled Kegs beat Roll One Esports 2-1. So Roll One holding steady at 10th place, and Arrogant Nephilim played Running with Turtles and took a 2-0 loss. So it was a real strong week for the Turtles, and actually I almost might want to move them above Reborn Knights Red, but what's done is done. So Running with Turtles had 2 dominations this week. I would probably put them at 4th now seeing this, but they're at 5th, so what can you do? And then, yeah, rounding out the bottom is Who Knows Gaming, as I touched on, and then Spooky Ghosts in last place, who have yet to take a map win.
You hate to see it. Riokaii. Yeah. Riokaii, you got some notes here. What do you think of Wono's standings? Or power rankings, rather.
I pretty much agreed with the most part of them. I have Soak Every Lane and Unemployed Gaming swapped. I think Unemployed's Gaming, they have their loss to Logical Decision, which I also have swapped with Regen Blue, I think. Or I have Running with Turtles in 4th, then Logical Decision, then Regen Blue, then Reborn Knights Red. So the 4 to like 7 range there is kind of all just like shuffled 1 around from each other. And pretty much, it is hard because in that, in my power ranking, I had Reborn Knights Red actually moving down a spot, even though they did have 2 match wins this week. So, maybe that's a reason there for Wono's list to be probably a bit more accurate than mine. And then the bottom is seeming pretty solid. Again, I had Deviled Kegs and Arrogant Nephilim, both swapping places there. But then other than that, my bottom 5 are all identical. So looks pretty solid to me, I would say.
Very nice. Arthanaut, you got anything to say about the Reborn Knights Red 4 rank disparity between these two?
I actually like where Wono placed them, right there with Running with Turtles in 4th and 5th. I actually really like that. It's hard not to have a knee-jerk reaction every time a team wins or loses. That's the hardest part of these opinionated power rankings. Like me personally, again, I'm on the show with Wono, but I don't know if I would have dropped Logical Decision 4 places. I think that was quite the knee-jerk drop, but at the same time, what else can you do? They did take 2 pretty bad losses, and there's not really much other place to put them.
Mm-hmm.
And you all would be screaming bias if I just left us at the top despite losing 2 games. So
number 1 doesn't matter. Dominations, who cares? Yeah.
No, it's just because part of this is what you know about the teams, and part of this is what actually happened. Like Soak Every Lane, they are much higher than I would have expected them to be this season, but they seem to be having quite the killer season so far. And having seen the results, I totally agree. They belong in 2nd place right now, and it's just one of those things that there's only so much you can do, and no matter what you do, it's going to be wrong. But I'll tell you that the secret to winning is place your team in last place, and you'll immediately see better results.
Is that a little foreshadowing here? Is that?
it's a little bit of foreshadowing.
Perfect segue over to C.
Well, I could. Wono, do you got any final thoughts, or you good to go?
I'm pretty good to go. I mean, aside from maybe flopping Running with Turtles Reborn Knights, like Riokaii said, the 4 through 7 is pretty nebulous in where they could all end up. I maybe dropped us a little further than I needed to, but 1 domination loss, it was pretty close with Reborn Knights Red, but 1 2-1 loss to them. It's kind of tough to do anything but.
Very nice. Alrighty, getting on to C East, and we see a lot of bit of change here.
Every team
has changed. I mean, some of them are just other teams moving up, and then you got to move other teams down. But the big one here, I put Boogan Squad up at rank 1. Now this might be a knee-jerk reaction. I'm fully willing to concede that, but they got a domination over Die for Vision, which I had at rank 3, I think, last week. Yeah, rank 3 last week. And they got a 2-1 win over Winky Face, which was previously seeded as the number 1 seed, and I still believe is a very, very strong team in C East. Mm-hmm. Not looking forward to playing them tomorrow. But both the combination of those wins, I think, just boosts their value in this division extremely high. Not only that, they're the winners of Division D last season, so they're definitely a team who can hold it together in the playoffs. So I moved them up. I can definitely see you guys having some thoughts about that in a couple minutes here. Winky Face going down, obviously, because Boogan Squad goes up to the top here. Durton's Couch. So by standings, they're actually number 1. So I did let that kind of influence my power ranking boost here, getting them into the 3rd place spot. They definitely like to take the early game advantage by getting their enemy's fort first. Their average is around 6 minutes, 50 seconds every game. Every other team in the Division C East is 10 minutes and 16 seconds. So a whole 4 minutes on average longer for other teams in the Coastal Division to get their first fort. They also have the only 2 games. Oh, they have only had 2 games that actually reach level 20. So they like to get to the end of the game very quickly and win it. So definitely influencing my stats, boosted them up, put them up above the Calculated Throw. Calculated Throw had a rough loss this week. I think it was... I forget who they lost to. Oh, well, that doesn't matter. Well, I could look it up, but I'll just continue on.
Wood League.
What's that?
Wood League.
Wood League, yeah. So they had, and it was a domination loss.
It was, yep.
So they were formerly in the 2nd place spot, but getting dominated by Wood League, who was formerly in the sixth slot, I just saw was enough justification for me to personally move them down a little bit. They have the highest, now, despite all that, Calculated Throw has the highest KDA and takedown in the Division C East. They have 5.8 KDA and 13.7 takedowns per game. The average for the coast is 2.4 for KDA and 9.5 for takedowns. So performing exceptionally more murder than the other teams. Wood League, of course, getting the domination over Calculated Throw, moving them up. Our Division C analyst behind the scene asks, do stuns win games? ? And the reason why he asked that is because Wood League tops the chart in stuns for the division of 1 minute, 19 seconds. The average time in this coast is actually only 51 seconds. So almost a whole half minute longer per game in stuns, which is exceptional when you consider. I think stuns is probably largely considered one of the better CCs. So that's pretty crazy. Lubu moves up. They got I believe a domination one. Yeah, they got a domination over Die for Vision, which brings me to my next biggest changer. Die for Vision moving 4 spots down. Again, this might be some knee-jerk reaction, but they took a loss to Boogan Squad, a domination loss to Boogan Squad. They lose to Do It Right, and they took a domination loss to Lubu. So despite having a really strong first 3 weeks, or 2 weeks, seems that maybe some of the wheels have fallen off here, and, I moved them down a little bit. So, is what it is. Last couple here are pretty easy. Do It Right got a domination over Bancho, so that was a pretty, lower ranked team, but still deserving to get a little bit of a boost. Save the Murloc got dominated by the Nexus Cats, as well as took a loss to Durton's Couch. So I thought that was justifying moving them down. Of course, I moved Nexus Cats up because of the domination over Save the Murloc. Maybe that's a little bit of a bias, but those games, to me, I wasn't playing, but I was watching on the sidelines, and they looked very strong, with a little bit of a cheeky base race on Volskaya in the first game. And yeah, that's my power rankings, and I'm sticking to it. So, Arthur, what do you got to say about that?
Yeah, so it's Die for Vision is one of those teams that I had a lot of personal stock in, and it's kind of hard to see them at 7th. But I almost feel like they should be a little bit lower. I mean, three bad losses in the same week, and maybe it was just a bad week, but that's 3 losses in a row. That feels bad, man. I mean,
yeah, that's kind of a feels bad, man. Like .gif, like right there. Just yikes.
They're at the same record as Nexus Cats, right? Who were in last place last week. I mean,
right. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an argument that you can move them lower, but
Seventh is almost generous, and I hate that because that's a team that I really like. That's a team I have bias for. I like that team, but
I hear you.
That's rough. That's really rough.
Riokaii, what do you think about moving Bugin Squad up to number 1 here?
I mean, it's hard to argue if they got a domination over Die for Vision and took a 2-1 over Winky Face. Like, it's hard to argue with that. I don't know.
And they weren't a bad team before. It's not like they were like, the Nexus Cats in last and then did this. Like, they were already a top tier team and then did exceptionally well.
Right. So I would say maybe they overperformed for a week. Sometimes that happens, or another team underperforms, or two. So we'll have to see if they can maintain that dominance or whatever you want to call it there. It sounds to me, instead of Die for Vision maybe moving down, it sounds to me if they have the same record, maybe Nexus Cats moves up even higher. I'm just saying. No bias here.
I have the reverse bias. I'm keeping them down. I want no accusations of bias. But I definitely think, although there is an argument to be made that the Nexus Cats could go above Save the Murloc, they did get a domination win over Save the Murloc. But I think Save the Murloc in their first 2 weeks had a lot of good wins. And Nexus Cats did not.
Yeah.
But when I say a lot of good wins, I mean wins against good teams. So I still think they're a better team than the Nexus Cats. So, whoa, any thoughts?
Well, first of all, my first note is I want to say I'm disappointed that you didn't read the Wood League note like an old-timey radio host.
Sorry, I could have.
For some reason, that's how it read in my mind, and then you didn't, and it just reality did not match what I had in my imagination.
Do stuns win games?
Right.
Let me tell you about it, chap. Yes.
Yeah, I am also a little bit disappointed in Die for Vision, but understanding of the move down. Really impressed with Bugin Squad. They're moving up from Division D and just dominating Division C. Granted, it was a close game against Winky Face, and that's a match I think could go either way the next time that those two teams meet. But seeing that team really rise to the top is inspirational for all those teams moving up, like certain other Division D teams who moved up and maybe aren't doing quite so well so far.
Nexus Cats.
There's a lot of season to go. Nexus Cats, you guys have picked up a good win, and I think you guys can kind of keep making strides to move forwards. Everyone else kind of in the middle, Duratan's couch downwards all the way to, I think, Die for Vision. I think any of those teams can still pull out a solid week, or vice versa, have a rough week like Die for Vision and really kind of shuffle up the rankings. A team I still have my eye on is definitely Wood League, though. Wood League, I think, is a strong team. They haven't quite performed to their full potential, so I expect them to make some waves over the better teams in Division.
I think they had a rough start, and they were ranked pretty low, and then they've been proving us wrong, more or less, so that they're justifying moving up. So definitely a team to watch. So, all right, and let's move on to C West. And I spent a little bit more time on C East because C West, not a whole lot has happened, I don't think, in my opinion. Maybe you guys will think differently. I did move. I guess the biggest change is Paraloot over Tickle Me Tassadar. I know Riokaii said earlier that he thought I think it was B East or B West division at the top was the closest. I disagree. I think Paraloot and Tickle Me Tassadar are exceptionally close. I moved this a couple times, but Paraloot continued getting dominations. They got 2-0 over Frankfurters, and they got a 2-0 domination over Plugwalk, which is one of their flex matches they played this week. Now, Plugwalk and Frankfurters are, not higher ranked teams, but still continuing dominations. I thought that was pretty good. And the biggest reason I moved Tickle Me Tassadar down is because they dropped the game to Piecemeal. A single game is really what made me move them down. But heading back over to Paraloot, so they have overtaken the number 1 spot, and they've done so by holding a level advantage over their opponents for 46.2% of every game. And it looks like the rest of the winners in the Division C West only hold an advantage over their opponent for 27.5% of the time. So roughly a quarter of the game to half of the game. So that could definitely be explaining. And I think Tickle Me Tassadar had a similar stat last week, but perhaps because of their loss, that went down. Also, Tickle Me Testadar has actually finally lost a keep. I know last week. Yeah. Last week I reported, I'm assuming it's it has to be in the game that they lost. Last week I reported that they had not lost a keep yet. They still hold the record for only losing one. But the coastal average is 8 keeps a game. So, or 8 keeps in general, I guess.
Totally, yeah.
There's not
8 keeps a game would be impressive.
Yeah, it would. They still have the highest number of takedowns in this division at 14.9. So, not too bad. Now, the rest of these teams, I've been struggling for a while now with like the 4 through like 6, 7 slot, and I'm adding this week number 3 only because can't counterpick stupid. They did get a domination win over Frankfurters. I don't think that they move up above Tickle Me Testadar. And they also have their match against Pigeon Stitches this tonight. We're recording on Sunday afternoon, and they're playing Sunday evening. I don't think that really changes the calculus unless they lose, and then maybe that moves them down. But assuming that they win, I think they stay strong at the 3 spot. Lurk Patrol has a higher KDA than Tickle Me Testadar, which is interesting coming in here at the 4 spot. They have a KDA of 6.3, and the average for the coast is 2.58. So almost double what the other teams in the division are doing. Frankfurters, I think I could have moved them down. They lost to a really good team, and it didn't look like Annie Oak League played a game this week, so I couldn't justify moving Annie Oak League up. But I don't know. Just kind of left it there. Piecemeal, I bumped them up because they won a game off Tickle Me Testadar. And then the other change here is 10 armor. They got a domination over Rainbow Strike Go. So I think that justified putting them up above them. So, all right, that's it. Arthana, what do you got to say?
Honestly, I agree with that pretty strongly. I don't really have any criticisms of that. I'm disappointed to see Pigeon Stitches so low because I know they were such a dominant team in D West last season.
Right.
But I believe one of their members went on to play for a region team.
Region Blue.
Region Blue, yeah. And he was a very, very strong part of Pigeon Stitches. So I'm disappointed to see that they're not having the best season. I do hope they pick it up.
Yeah, and I mean, if they pick up a win off of Can't Counterpick Stupid and or a domination win, maybe we'll see their stock go a little bit higher, but definitely it's hard to take them off the bottom.
I wouldn't invest in them personally, which is
a
shame.
Riokaii, so I kind of called you out there when I was doing my power rankings. Do you agree? Paraloot, Tickle Me Testadar, it's real close? Not so close?
Well, I was just going to mention that a lot of this, like you said, is pretty hard where even one game dropped, not even against each other, but against some other team elsewhere in the division can make the difference. And, you do kind of have to take into account that strength of schedule or whatever. I don't know. It's arguable. That's pretty close. I'll admit it looks pretty close. So, I guess we'll have to wait until they play each other and see if it's a 2-1, which way it goes, and find out then.
I agree with that. All right, Wono, what do you think?
Yeah, I think C West, the big kind of talking point is Paraloot and Tickle Me Testadar. It's arguable whether Piecemeal taking a map off Tickle Me Testadar is a bigger deal for them or a bigger deal for Tickle Me Testadar in terms of change of rankings, and I think it's almost a bigger deal for Tickle Me Testadar because despite them only taking the game, you only move Piecemeal up 1 spot, and honestly, I think that's pretty justified because the beginning to their season hasn't been maybe as strong as they would have liked. Whereas Tickle Me Testadar, losing that game, that's the first time that they've lost a fort this entire season.
Or keep. Or fort? Or keep.
Keep, sorry.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that losing to, we'll call them mid-tier team right now, is much more of an impact than Piecemeal taking one map off of that, even though they might have liked to have moved up further just because the rest of their season has been so, not shaky, but not as strong as they would have liked.
Right.
So
I
think,
100% agree.
Yeah, I think Paraloot being number 1 after that is justified, but like Riokaii said, we'll just have to wait to see those two teams actually play each other to see how it pans out.
Yeah, and I don't think they're playing each other next week. So just have to wait a little bit longer. All right, I'm done with C West. So let's shoot it on over to Arthur now. Give us the Division D East rankings here, bud.
All right, so D East had a drop, unfortunately. So this is going to cause some crazy movement here in the power rankings because a lot of teams who got a domination this week are now pretty much getting 2 dominations to their name. So it's kind of, some teams are going to move up maybe further than they should, or move down, unfortunately. If you won, you moved up a lot. If you lost, you moved down a lot, which is one of the unfortunate things. But at number 1, we got Zul'jin Distillery, who they've just been dominant. There's no contesting. They are number 1. They are staying at number 1 right now. At number 2, we got 2 Calculated, 2 Throw. They I've had them at number 2 pretty much all season. I think they bumped down last week due to a map drop, but they're back at number 2 and quite decisively. At number 3, we got Church of Murky. So Church of Murky had a domination against FF and the Pancakes this week, which is a team that I actually had a little bit higher in the past, which they moved down. They've actually had a pretty rough span of 2 weeks, but they opened up the season pretty strong. At number 4, we have House of Shay. So originally I had them at number 2, but they have just not had the best week. They took a loss to Team Rectum, and Team Rectum was a team that I actually had placed pretty low. It was a 2-1 loss. It wasn't a domination, and it was a fairly close game, but Team Rectum was a team that I did not have a lot of stock in personally. And to me, that was an upset, and I think it's still an upset. Team Rectum did move up to number 5. They moved up 4 places from number 9. This is a case of overreactionary because of a forfeit win too. I do not believe Team Rectum will stay at number 5, but it's really hard not to respect the fact that they beat House of Shay. But this is one of those things where it almost, I fear it's an anomaly. I hope for Team Rectum's sake that they continue to kick butt and continue to move up in the rankings, but I'm skeptical to move them up any further, and this could be a bit too much. At number 6, I have Probus. Now this is one of the ones where I almost want to switch Probus and Team Rectum, but Probus hasn't done too much to be all that impressive. But they did take a game off of Zul'jin Distillery, and they are the only team to do that, and I almost want to move them up because of that. Because that, to me, that's really impressive. 1 game off of Zul'jin Distillery is a lot. Maybe Zul'jin Distillery was feeling overconfident or something, but it's hard for me to. I feel bad moving them down, but that's unfortunately just kind of part of it as a team's dropping and other teams are winning. So at number 7, we have Painfully Average, who I believe is our big winner this week over in C East. Painfully Average beat who'd they beat? Sorry, I gotta pull this back up. They beat Team Censored in a 2-0 domination, and it was.
Wait, did you flip-flop them?
Yeah, I did, actually.
Yeah.
I did. It was incredibly. It very much Painfully Average looks like a different team. They don't look Painfully Average anymore. I mean, my ranking for them is still a Painfully Average ranking, but 7th. But they look they look much better. At number 8, I got Wood Tap That. They moved up 2 spots. They managed to take a domination over Tryhards. Number 9, we got FF and the Pancakes, who I mentioned a little bit earlier, who took a pretty bad loss to Church of Murky, who is a higher team, so I hate to move them down as much as I did, and I think part of that is just because of a team dropping and other teams that won looking better than maybe they should. But that is what it is. At number 10, we got Team Tryhards, kind of the same situation. They lost to Wood Tap That, as mentioned a second ago. And in last place, at number 11, we have Censored, who they just haven't had the best week. They haven't won very, very many games. If we look here, they have 1 domination, which actually every team has a domination, but that might be the forfeit. Actually, I'm not sure if the website considers that a domination. I think it does.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so they've only won 1 game, and it was a 2-1 win. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of stock in them, and I hope they pick it back up. It's worth noting that Church of Murky has a 5.9 KDA right now. FF and the Pancakes, which maybe this is to their strength, maybe it's to their detriment. They have drafted 28 different heroes in these 3 weeks of playing. So maybe they need to focus up a little more, or maybe that's what's causing them to win games is they're unpredictable. Like, I mean, you never know. 2 calculated, 2 throw, minute and 19 seconds of chain stunning. Johanna, the top tank at 90% with a 54.2 win rate. Imperius is pretty popular with 40%, and Abathur's been seeing some picks and bans in this division. So D East has been quite the fiesta. Everything's moving, nothing makes sense, and I'm over here trying to make sense of it all.
And so you said, what was it? So 2 calculated, 2 throw. They actually had the exact same average stun time of 1 minute and 19 seconds as Wood League from Division C East.
Yep.
So definitely, I like no real reason or good reason or anything. I really like seeing them at number 2. They're a really strong team. They obviously beat the Nexus Cats in the playoffs last season, and I don't think they've had any major roster changes. So I would expect them to be a really, really good team.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing them at number 2, and then to justify that with the 1 minute and 19 second stun, sounds good to me, man.
Do stuns win games?
Do stuns win games? I don't know if it's stun time. Never mind. I won't get into it. Well, no. What do you think?
I don't have a ton of comments on Division D East. I think flip-flopping Painfully Average and Censored that hard, like 5 spots each, is maybe a little bit knee-jerk reaction, but
it's kind of aggressive.
It is kind of aggressive.
It's pretty aggressive.
Yeah. And the other one I'm still kind of on the fence about is Team Rectum moving up the 4 spots. Like you said, they had a good week, but and that's what really we're basing it on is how they performed this week in relation to last week, how they performed overall, and the teams that they beat or lost to. So maybe it is justified, but it seems a little high for me right now.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I heavily considered is just leaving Probus at 5th and putting Team Rectum right below him at 6th.
I think I might agree with that.
I could see that. A Painfully Average moving up 5 is kind of crazy, but some of that I think is because FF, those other teams moved down.
Mm-hmm.
So, Riokaii, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of comments either. C and D are the divisions that I generally neglect, unfortunately. There's just too many games happening for me to even try and keep up with them all, so I don't have too much knowledge here or context on these. I pretty much probably would agree that it sounds like Probius above Team Rectum could definitely swap there, and then Painfully Average and Censored, maybe they're around like 8th or 9th, rather than being at the extremes there and and at 7th and 11th. So something like that is probably about where I would sit if I had to guess. So
I told you he was the villain, guys. He's the villain of the show. So there we go, living up to his name and moving right along into Division D West. Break it down for us. Not a whole lot going on here, Arthur.
No, this one's actually pretty simple. We could probably be done with this in the next minute or so. But
prove it.
So Full Meta Jacket, unmoved, top team. They're gonna stay there. It's debatable that Clouded Mind should be number 1, as they are both identical. But you know what? We don't have to wait long to answer that, because I know I am kind of alluding to a future segment. But Clouded Minds and Full Meta Jacket play this week Thursday, so watch that game. Because
that'll decide. Yeah.
I mean that'll decide. So 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. We'll know Thursday. So 3rd and 4th place. In 3rd place, we got Bloodbath and Beyond moving up 3 places because they took a 2-0 on Randy Newman, which was a team that I personally had quite a bit of stock in, and they just beat them around. And it was hard not to flip them. Maybe 3 places is a lot, but I had quite a bit of stock there. In number 4, we had the Baddest Dudes, pretty much doing a very similar situation where they just dominated Yavapai County chess and swim team. And that's another team that I thought was really high up there. And maybe the 2 teams just had bad weeks. Yavapai County only moving down 1 place into 5th place, but it wasn't their best performance. I think swapping 5th and 6th place is pretty debatable. Take that how you will. 7th place, we have Disturbance dropping 2 places. They haven't had the best schedule. It's kind of unfortunate that they had to go against Clouded Mind so early, taking a 2-0. I mean, Full Metal Jacket also played, I believe it was Backbone AI. Let's see. Yeah, Backbone Crimson Shadow. They changed their name this year.
Oh, yeah. Here, I'll take care of that.
My apologies, Simulationist. And so that's kind of why there's not too much movement at the top and the very bottom, because in 8th place we got Camino Saber Darts, who actually have not reported their game. I have no idea what the ranking is on that. So please report your games. Camino Saber Darts and Luciodology, those two kind of towards the bottom, and Backbone just has not taken a single map win, so it's really hard to give them
to justify bumping them.
Justify them being any higher than anyone. Luciodology has not taken a single map win either, but they have lost less games because they haven't reported that game. So
there's your edge on the competition, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, so
win
take
maps.
that what you will. Interesting thing about this division that's worth noting is that one of the hot picks is Murky. He has played 3 games. I mean, this is some of that classic.
Is it the same team playing him, or is it multiple teams playing him?
It's 2 different teams played him. But
it's just 2 different memers out here.
Yeah, I mean,
I fully support it, by the way.
I think each division kind of has a signature hero that just pops up for some random reason. Like I think Mephisto has been in like, I don't know, 5 or 6 heroic and Division A games lately. Just out of nowhere. I have no idea why.
Just 'cause? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know.
So we've seen actually a little bit of Abbott there too. 2 games and a ban. So Varian's been picked a lot. So I bet we're seeing a fair bit of a hyper carry Varian going on here.
Who knows? I'm gonna start out with the disagreements. I don't understand the Disturbance dropping 2 ranks. It looks like Yavapai County Swim and Chess Team and Randy Newman both lost, but Disturbance gets the 2-0 domination against Backbone, but still goes behind them. I think I probably would have just left them at 5.
Did Disturbance get a domination on Backbone? Was that a flex match, maybe?
Dude, I don't know. That's what your notes say.
Disturbance strong 2-0 against Backbone.
That was last week. I'm sorry.
Well, now I just look like a fool.
Yeah,
thanks.
You do.
Wow.
My bad. Yeah, that's kind of why they moved down, is they got dominated, and their only real win was Backbone, which is...
Hold on. I'm going to prove my point that they shouldn't. They got dominated by Clouded Minds.
They did, and that's unfortunate. But their team...
Clouded Minds is a better team than Randy Newman.
Oh, 100%.
So... what is it? Bloodbath and Beyond dominated Randy Newman. Bloodbath and Beyond is a worse team than Clouded Minds. I don't know. I still think I think Disturbance is up. That's what I'm sticking to it. That's it.
To defend my point, the only wins Disturbance has is against Backbone and Luciodology.
Yeah, well, those are good wins. Okay.
The wins. I will concede that maybe they should be in 6th place and Randy Newman should drop maybe 1 more.
Yeah, all right. Whatever. Ryokai, which one of us is more correct?
Well, I will say, of the very few Division C and D games that I've watched, I did watch one of Randy Newman's. I think it was week 1, and they looked very dominant. So I was with Arthanel on putting a lot of stock in them being a top team. So to see them get beat and now be 6th is kind of surprising. But I will say, I was impressed both by them and just like Division D and C games in general, that I thought they were like higher level than I maybe expected. So yeah, I don't know. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of disturbances around Disturbance.
Yeah.
So They could probably shovel up at least 1 or 2 spots, but the rest of it, not really moving very much. Just a couple teams getting some dominations, so seems pretty reasonable to me.
All right, Wono, are you gonna break the tie? Are you gonna? I mean, maybe. I mean, honestly, like it seems like these teams now that I know that the 2-0 against Backbone was a note from last week and not this week.
Mm-hmm. It makes more sense.
It makes more sense. They're kind of interchangeable. I still think I'd put him up above Randy Newman, but
see, I was also someone who placed a lot of stock in Randy Newman early this season, just because they were a returning team who did quite well last season. They had a good, strong start, and then have kind of tapered off a little bit.
They were Asmo Carey, right?
Mm-hmm.
The team formerly known as Clapping Sacks, I'll have you know.
Yeah. I knew that was their original name.
Yeah, so you can't argue with the results and the week-to-week results with how they've been doing, so I think 6th is justified, but I still agree with placing Disturbance lower than them.
It's too hard for me to shake that high stock of Asmo Carey in the past.
There you have it, folks. All right. Any final thoughts on these power rankings or any others? Going once.
Before you hit my DMs, prove me wrong.
Yep, prove me wrong.
It's our week motto.
Yeah. Well, no, and that brings up a good point. Yeah, if you think we got it wrong, let us know. Get in the division chat. Prove us wrong. Win some games, lose some games, whatever. We'll take a look. And if you think we missed something this week, let us know. It's possible. Definitely can't catch every game, although I try to catch as many as I can. So there we go. That's the power rankings, boys. Wrong, bad, good, whatever. That's them. So moving right along, we have the community member of the week. And this week, we're going to give it to Aura, last season's Division Mom winner. She is the backbone of our community. She's the speaker to the board. She doesn't get a vote on the leadership committee, but she is quintessential in pretty much everything. She's head of the Discord committee, I believe. If you want anything done on the Discord, she's someone you have to talk to. And kind of as I've gotten more and more in behind the scenes, I've seen how much she does, which is insane. So shout out to Aura. If it wasn't this week, it could have been last week. It could have been next week. She should get, community member of the year of the season. She's an incredible, quintessential member of our community. If you see her in Discord, say thanks, because that is definitely, her doing. So shout out to you, Aura. Any other comments on that, guys?
No, Aura's great. She really does hold NGS together. Her winning Discord Mom of the Year last season was well earned. I think her getting Community Member of the Week is well earned because she really does do an incredible amount for NGS and the organization. A lot of behind the scenes stuff. She's not always the most present or community member on the forefront per se. She's not the one doing the cast. She's not the one appearing on NGS or Nexus Edge. She's not the one doing that, but she does just a metric ton of back office and keeps everyone in check and is always there to answer questions and reminds everyone to check the pins. So check your pins.
There you go. On Aura's behalf, check your pins. Riokaii, any thoughts?
Nope. Could pretty much echo pretty much everything that Wono just said. Not only just to Aura, but just pretty much everybody involved in NGS on the back end and everything, keeping things running smoothly. They're all great to work with, very friendly. Answering questions or helping you out or whatever. If you need to try and pick up casting or just have a rules question or something or whatever. So thumbs up to everybody. Check the pins. Thumbs up.
Sounds good. And with that, let us move to our next segment. It is the game of the week. So, Riokaii, why don't you kick us off with the game for this upcoming week, week 4, that you think would be worth watching here?
So I have 2. I'll do one for Heroic, which is going to be Yikes S tier versus Archon. That's going to be on Thursday, August 1st. That will definitely, probably solidify whether Yikes S tier belongs as a top team, or whether Archon moves up maybe a couple spots. And that is the only heroic game scheduled this week, so it had to be my game.
Default, yeah.
By default, that is my game of the week because they are the only teams willing to schedule a game. So
Yeah,
they get all the praise in the world. Every other team, don't bother watching them because you can't. So there you go. For Division A, I have Sky 5 versus Team Training Wheels. That's going to be immediately tomorrow on Monday the 29th. And that is going to be what I currently have as a number 2 seed versus a number 4 seed. So that should definitely be a close game. I think Team Training Wheels maybe had a weird start to the season with playing Probius a bunch and some other things like that. I think they've had a couple of roster changes as well. And they started off playing against our team, Rewind. So with Sky 5 being above us now, I think our series with them was pretty close. I think, again, it'll be a close series, probably go to Game 3, and it could go either way. So I think that'll be a great series to watch. So and maybe expect some unusual picks. Let's put it that way.
Probius potentially being one of them. So, all right, Wono, why don't you tell us your game of the week?
So there's a very high likelihood that my game of the week will already been played by the time this releases. But in case you didn't catch it, go back and watch the VOD of Reborn Knights Black and Minion Miners playing on Monday, the 29th of July. So that's tomorrow from casting, or from recording this today. Two of the teams I have at the very top, I think they're, what do I have, 2 and 3, 2 and 4?
Mm-hmm.
So definitely going to be a good series to watch, and going to help determine who is going to be the real front runners for Division B East this season.
Sounds good. All right, I'll go with my game of the week, and then we'll round it out with Arthanel here. I did want to do a quick little plug for myself. Well, pat on the back. I predicted correctly that Bugin versus Winky Face was going to be the Division C game of the week. Turns out I called that one. So
hey,
definitely, obviously it shaped my perception of the power rankings. So with that, put on my my medium hat, my hat. I think the Paraloot versus Can't Counterpick Stupid game that's going to be airing on July 30th at 10 p.m. CST. So well past my bedtime, but I will be watching the VOD. Hopefully this is out before then, but that's a number 1, what I have ranked number 1 team in C West versus a number 3 ranked team. And I think that's going to be a really big decider for, where do those teams kind of play out in the power rankings here. And those 3 being Paraloot, Tickle Me Tastar, and Can't Counterpick Stupid. So looking forward to it. Check it out. Arthanel, what do you got for us? What is the game to watch for this week?
All right, so I said it earlier, but it's going to be D West, Cloud and Mines versus Full Metal Jacket. This is a first seed and a second team duking it out. This is 2 teams that I've had a very difficult time having to place between one another. I mean, I can flip-flop either one at any given time, but this is a game to watch. It's going to be a bloodbath. It's Thursday, August 1st at 9 Central Time, so check that out. And also, I do want to plug one more because this game will happen before the next one airs, but it's next week. On August 6th at 8:30 Central Time, we have Zul'jin Distillery versus 2 Calculated 2 Throw, which is also another first seed versus second seed matchup. But that's going to happen next Tuesday after this airs, so you probably won't see the following Nexus Edge before that happens. So I just wanted to plug that one because it's on the schedule.
Very nice. It's always nice and easy when the first and second ranked teams play each other, because then you can figure it out. All right, guys, let's get into the favorite topic of our fans. I think it's the favorite. We'll figure it out. It's the highlights of the week, top 5. And starting out at number 5, we have Welcome to the Fiesta. Show the clip.
This is a fight that they want, though, as 20s are in, but look how low it is. They're going to be able to clear out this boss as long as they keep Masterfish from getting in here. But things are actually a terrible position for Once Bitten Thrice Pine. This might actually be a boss throw. We do see Hanzo going down, though. Kael'thas getting the kill. Blaze sitting on the point, doing his best to try to hold on to this. Everyone getting super low. Leoric does finally go down, and so does Kael'thas. This fight might actually be going in their favor, but Raynor just sitting here back peppering away, and I don't know which way this is going to go. Gul'dan, Blaze goes down, and it's the last kill on ETC, but Rhaegar finally falls, and Nubrak finally goes down, and what a brawl. That was the craziest boss fight I've seen all season.
I feel like we name a lot of our clips Welcome to the Fiesta, but that was a fiesta. So coming in at number 4, though, is Alex, please. Show the clip.
Low that going in here is going to be a little bit difficult. You see Alex Johnson trying to sneak by. Oh. She gets killed by the keep in the middle, but I think this might be GG anyway.
And coming in at number 3 is Living the Meme Dreams. Sure, my favorite kinds of dreams. So, show the clip.
Rexar could Boars, trying to get the re-engage. There's the Warden's Cage in the back. Here comes the meme combo. Stage dive absolutely annihilates Junkrat. And I think we did get the Light Bomb stage dive meme dream. But in that process, Ulysses now going to fall finally. Maev does drop, but that is another kill. And I don't think Snowglare is going to survive much longer either. And that is actually a lot of gems lost for Logical Decision.
Coming in at number 2, Much Hatred. Show the clip.
Both teams on the defense right now kind of just posturing around. They get the cocoon onto Virtuoso. Instantly gets broken out by Yonners. Big root coming out, and they are going to be all locked in there. Nice healing from Bernie. Big stun coming out from Virtuoso, and the Earthquake keeps them in place.
And coming out at number 1, Defense of the Storm. Show the clip.
Core here. They've got a biotic emitter. They have Raynor. They have, I mean, they can do a load of damage. 20 seconds until Lunara's back.
Can't Counter Pick Stupid does have 2 turrets. I mean, yeah, maybe with all this damage, they got to get Raynor out of the. They got to get Raynor out of the fight here. But it looks like Lucy O is no more. And
yeah.
Stukov's like, peace out, dude.
Boggs going straight onto that core, and with that level 20,
I
Lunara's
think, like, nah,
can they
man.
do it?
I don't know.
God, are they gonna save it?
God!
They save it! Holy cow!
Oh my god! Wow, those turrets taking the aggro from the camp. Oh my goodness, they have to be very careful here. They have to be very.
And we're back. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. So, Ryokai, which one of these did you guys did you like?
I liked the Battlefield of Eternity Immortal stun. I think Garrosh hit like a 5-man queue in that, so the Much Hatred number 2 there was my personal favorite. Watched that one live. So, but core defense is always good. If you can always get a low percentage core defense, it's hard to top that. So,
and I genuinely, you hate to see it because, as we know, Frankfurter or almost Legends Obsidian, who are now known as Frankfurters, went on to actually lose this game. You don't see that part here, but being this close and then losing it, that's rough. So you definitely hate to see it. So Arthur, what was your favorite clip here?
Actually, Alex, please. It's easy clip to kind of make fun of, but there's actually some skill going on right there. I know it's easy to make fun of the Alex player dying to the keep, but it's worth noting that what's going on there is actually the team is winning the game going core, diving past keep. There are keeps still up. They're diving past keep in order to win this game. So there's actually like some crazy stuff going on there, and Alex was just the unfortunate victim of it. So initially you're gonna look at this clip and be like, oh well, poor Alex wasn't thinking, but no, they were winning the game right there.
I will call out Veggies for taunting instead of maybe tanking the keep for his friendly Alex or something. So, but
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. And of course, living the meme dream. Whoa, were you a fan of the meme dreams?
At the time, no. No, that game was fun, and it's always interesting to see people trying out heroic combinations like that. I know Johanna's Falling Sword plus Light Bomb has been used in Division S and a couple other places, so why not try ETC stage dive with Light Bomb and combine it with Mayev's Warden's Cage, because why not?
So wait a minute. So with the interaction between those two, does Light Bomb not proc if you're like out of the map, like an ETC or the Falling Sword?
So you cast it before they jump, obviously, and then because it has its kind of like tick down time,
yeah.
As long as you, well, I think for stage dive it doesn't count. ETC needs to be back, but I know Falling Sword, since Johanna is still technically on the map, it can proc while she's like in the air, stunning people, and then she lands with her micro stun too.
Wait. So while she's in the air, Light Bomb goes
stun
off.
People. It can go off. Yeah, it's a really interesting interaction.
Wow, that's insane. Well, Edge, yeah.
I still don't like it over Blessed Shield, just because it takes your Johanna, quote unquote, off the map, and the other enemy team can literally just run past and start murdering you. But
do you have any idea how
meme uses?
Yeah. Do you have any idea of the interaction? And I'm sorry to keep on. I'm just genuinely curious. What's the interaction between Imperius's ult where he kind of launches them off the map? Do you know?
I have never seen that one, so I would imagine
it's seen the ult being picked. Who knows?
Yeah.
He has
the Nexus Cats guy takes it. Shadow Guard.
He only picks it in quick match.
I've seen it a couple times, but
no, in NGS he goes the armor one. He knows better.
Okay. He knows better.
Yeah, I'm not sure on any of those interactions. Maybe I'll have to do a tip video on those at some point. So
there you go. So keep your eyes posted, folks. All right. Before we move on, I do want to give a quick plug to Valkymer. Check out his latest episode of the Late Night Face Check. I'm supposed to say the Late Night Face Check. It's more sensual because it's late night. Valkymer, of course, putting out some great content. I don't know his most recent week or what his episode is, but please go ahead and check that out. So without further ado, let's move on to Edge questions. So, of course, these are questions taken from the community. Anyone who is posted in the Edge questions Discord on the NGS server has an opportunity of being picked and shown on the show. And this week we have a couple questions from Butte Holiday. So let's start with her first question. She asks, what is an overlooked characteristic of a potential team recruit? So, Wono, you're a captain of your team, so why don't you start us off?
God, I haven't done recruiting well, actually, I did do recruiting for subs, so that's not completely true. An overlooked aspect of a potential team recruit?
Yeah.
That was the question?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
So I guess another way to put it is what characteristic do you think is important? Like, not on paper statistic or something like that.
Yeah. My biggest plug would probably just go to personality.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you want to get someone who fits the role you're looking for, who can play in the time zone you play in, who has good in-game synergy with your team. But if they have, I don't want to say shitty personality, but if they don't mesh well with the team outside of playtime, or personality really comes through when times get hard as well. Like if you guys go on a losing streak or you have a really tough match or something, then you really want to make sure you're choosing a person who isn't going to further put your team down and is going to make your team feel okay about things or help you bounce back. So personality definitely is something that I look for quite a bit when I'm recruiting players.
Riokaii, are you a captain?
Not currently, but I have been in the past. And Wono pretty much stole my answer in half of the words that I was going to use. I would pretty much say a teammate that you can still have fun playing with when losing is the simplest way that I could phrase it, pretty much. Whether that's getting, and staying serious and wanting to do VOD review or, fix the mistakes or whatever, or whether it's just complete goofing off and we're just shrugging it off and, go to the next game or whatever. Both of those are extremely important. And if you don't have them, it can pretty much not only just make a team not even fun to play with or practice with, but it just snowballs itself and it doesn't make, playing any more games. You're basically more likely to lose, which is more likely to make things worse, and it snowballs from there. So,
very nice. And Arthur, now, I believe you're the only captain in NGS history to make a trade for a player. So, what made trading for that specific player so valuable to you? Were there any potentially overlooked characteristics that you were looking for in that player?
Well, you know, the thing I look for whenever looking for new players is after a rough loss or a rough week, if it's still a person I'd want to go and have a beer with after the match, whether it be a win or a loss. And you know, the cost was low. The person on the market was pretty cheap. They just wanted some kitty litter and some licorice. So you're like, you know, this guy seems all right. He seems to have good taste in beer, so we'll take him. He seems pretty decent. So.
And a whole bag of Twizzlers later, still on your team, right? Yeah.
That's right.
Anyway, so I did want to point out Wedge answered the question in the chat, and he said, and I think this is kind of like what Arthur was saying, is if even after the most exhilarating win or the most crushing defeat, would you still want to go for a beer or coffee with them just to hang out?
Maybe that's where I got that from, because I knew that exact phrase was like from Murdo or something. I could have swore I heard that somewhere else before.
Just cheating. It's terrible.
No, I mean,
anyways,
like,
yeah.
That is what I look for, though.
No, I think that encapsulates exactly what Woe and Riokaii were saying, too.
Yep.
Just someone,
Yeah.
just a cool person. So, all right, moving on. Second question here is, what is the most misused or misinterpreted stat in the game? So is there a stat that people point to that you're like, I don't know, that's overblown. That's not really a good stat to use as like a metric.
Damage.
It's kind of a hard question. But
It could almost be all of them.
All of them.
The only one probably being like XP soaked. I think that's the only one that's not going to get misused. Unless, conversely, it's like a Storm League match and one person is just ignoring every objective to be in the off lane, like split pushing or whatever.
Right.
But pretty much every other stat can be misused or like misunderstood, misvalued.
Yeah.
So I was talking a bit. Someone else can go on from here.
I would say deaths is probably like the biggest one, where like when I was climbing a Storm League or Hero League in the past and whatnot, I would pretty much give myself like a 3 death limit on like a game. If I went over that, it was like a bad game and I need to like fix those mistakes and everything else. But like you can give yourself 1 or 2 and it's like, okay, you know, people make mistakes, it's whatever. Doesn't mean it's like a bad game or whatever. But I would say the most frequent like issue is generally people are just either playing too aggressive or not respecting their opponents or some other combination of things, you know, not looking at the minimap, not communicating or something. That if you're dying more than like 3 times a game, it's probably like a pretty big issue that you want to fix. So that would be my number one in terms of like most overlooked.
Riokaii, have you seen bronze before? Just asking.
So not really, not in HOTS at least. So yeah, I played League for like 6 years or something. So I have a bit of a privileged perspective on HOTS because I came to HOTS with a lot of MOBA experience, and so the very first season I played, I placed like Plat 5, Plat 3, somewhere in there, and then I climbed to Diamond 5 in that season. And this season was over in like 2 weeks or something anyway, so I had to like rush it. But I had like a 70% win rate on Vala at first or whatever, so my climb was very quick and privileged, so I unfortunately do not have the first-hand experience to empathize, I guess.
Well, let me tell you. No. Arthur, now, do you got any thoughts about the question?
I mean, damage. It hurts so much. I mean, whenever you're playing Zeratul and you're trying to make
you think
smart
the
picks,
damage
smart
numbers
plays, and the Sli Ming's over here with like 10k more damage than you, and she's like, I have more damage than this piece of crap Zeratul. What are you doing? And like, she's just over here padding her numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, and now that's pretty much it.
Sounds good to me. All right, so I'm going to try a little something new this week. So this Edge question came to us from Jay Silv, and he asked, what is the worst map in the current NGS rotation, in your opinion? Obviously, there's no objective standard, I don't think. Well, if there is, tell me. So, Wono, what is the worst map in NGS?
Sky Temple. Without a doubt, Sky Temple. It's so unbalanced, and so I think it's the map that has the least comeback potential out of every map in NGS. So that is not good design. It doesn't make for good gameplay. If teams aren't fairly balanced, then the team who is ahead just wins.
Sounds good. Riokaii, what do you think is the worst map here?
I will definitely agree with Wono. I think Sky Temple is my least favorite map to play for that reason. And yeah, I forget the exact stats. I had Flindrith pull it up when I tweeted at him last season or something. But the first objective is normally pretty balanced. You normally trade it like one person gets top, one person gets mid. It's like fine, you're each about even. And then whoever wins the second temple phase, when there's only one of them, is just kind of like ahead, and then they never have to interact with you or fight you ever again. They can literally just like trade temples from there and win the game because
it's like
as soon as you have a structure lead, you can just keep it forever. And yeah, it's super non-interactive. So I think the map design is pretty bad. I think probably like the boss or something should be stronger to push with, so that people don't just want to like sit top lane when that temple's up, or just have like all 3 temples active every single time a temple phase comes up and just like always be fighting over 2 of them or something. I don't know what the solution is, but yeah, that's probably my least favorite map. Statistically, I can say I think Braxis is the and this is probably why it was in the rotation last season. It has the highest first pick win rate on that map. It's like above 70% or something across all of NGS. It's huge. So if you're ever getting that pick and picking that map, you're basically giving yourself like such a huge chance to lose that you shouldn't ever do it. The first pick has such a huge advantage on that map that nobody will ever pick it. But then somebody has to pick the map, so nobody's ever going to pick it. So it's like in this weird limbo where it's a legal map to pick, and not everybody bans it, but some people just don't ban it and say, well, some people might pick it against us, and then we're happy because we have like a baseline 70% win rate. It's hard to like do too badly from there. And then but we're never going to pick it. So it's just like in this weird limbo purgatory state in between where it exists, it's playable, it's not going to get banned, but nobody's ever going to pick it, so it's never going to get played. I don't know, it's bizarre. So that's probably the one that just toss that one out of there, rebalance it or something, put in Hanamura. That one's way more interesting. So those are my top 2 picks. So
what about you, Arthur? What do you think?
Sky Temple, it's the worst. It not made for all the points that Wano and Riokaii made. I don't like it. It's a bad map. Give me Hanamura. Hanamura is interesting. It's fun.
I actually like playing Braxis, by the way. Like, I think the map is fun, but just like strategically, it's like not ever worth risking.
On the record, I picked Braxis last week and we won. We gave them first pick on Braxis. Yeah, I picked Braxis.
He's part of the 30%. There you go.
What a madman. What a madman. Anyway, so what I was alluding to, guys, is actually this week DeWitt, one of the writers, sent a survey to the captains, and he asked the exact same question that I just asked you. He asked, what is the worst map currently in the NGS rotation? And 7 captains for both Braxis and Sky Temple agreed that it was the worst map. Not super surprising. I think what was more surprising is Alterac Pass had 6 votes for the next worst map, and then Volskaya Foundry actually had 5. So those next 2 were kind of surprising to me, personally. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I will say Alterac Pass is one of my favorite maps.
I love Alterac Pass.
Yeah, I also like spent a lot of time trying to figure out and learn the macro and like strategies on that map. I'm sure Wono can attest to it without maybe spoiling all my secrets. Is that I have a lot of like really niche, like not even cheese, but just like ways that in theory the map should be played, but like nobody's ever going to be practiced enough or crazy enough to ever do it. So like the map meta on that, or the meta on that map like won't evolve very quickly, but eventually it'll probably get really crazy, and it's going to be fun to see which team is like the brave one to like push it forward piece by piece. Yeah.
Open Pandora's box on Alterac.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's a good metaphor for it. Volskaya,
people don't like it apparently.
Yeah, I think it's mostly because it is still pretty snowbally, and if one team knows the macro and another team doesn't, it's still going to be a pretty one-sided thing, and it's also just very boring. Like the camps aren't really invadable because they're like super safe, way far back, almost by your keep. Right. They're closer to the keep than the fort, and they're behind like a wall, and then there's mud pits and everything else. You have to like overextend so far to invade a camp. My number 1 suggestion for that map is just put the camp on the other side of the wall. of where that wall is, closer to the objectives, and that way it would just make things like you can at least interact, like when people are doing camps. It's not just I'm gonna get my camp and you're gonna get your camp, and we're just gonna look at each other and then go fight when they meet in the lane. It's like some team might invade sometime. Oh, amazing! And the bosses are also like really far apart too. That maybe the bosses should be stronger so that you actually want to do them ever early game instead of just mainly focusing on the camps and the objective, because the camps are almost stronger than the bosses. So yeah, those are the main two things for Altaric Pass. Volskaya, I think, is mostly a result of the mech changes that they made like a month or two ago, where it just feels so much less good to win the mech, and it's like less snowbally, sure, but it's also that map just goes long a lot of the time, and it doesn't really feel like I'm winning much of the time.
Oh.
Computer just went to a screensaver. Spooky.
Oh.
Okay, I'm back. All right, we're good. And so, yeah, I feel like that map is just a lot less fun and interesting now that the mech is... You can't really team fight with it. You just kind of have to push, but the push isn't even as strong as it used to be because you're weaker in the team fights. So they don't feel as threatened, and so they just walk up to it and start hitting it a bunch. And so it dies a lot faster than it used to. Yeah, so Sky is not as fun as it used to be comparatively, I think. But
all right, guys, I think that rounds it all out. So let's close out the show. Before we get on to it, I want to do a quick shout out to our research analysts. Of course, Riokaii here on the show. He'll get a thank you later. But we have Key, Himibo, Marshhole, Dominator helping me out in Division C, and Blank helping out with Division D. You guys have been an incredible help so far this season. Keep up the good work. We're fed incredible amounts of information, which helps us do the show and be interesting. Without that, it would just be us talking about who knows what. So thank you very much. Also, I want to thank all the panelists. So here's Riokai's thank you. Where can the people reach you?
As always, find me on Twitter or Twitch at WonoHots, or find me on Discord and message me. I'm everywhere.
Perfect. Arthanow, where can the fine people find you on the internet?
On Twitter, you can find me at ArthanawHut, and on Twitch, you can find me at just Arthanaw, and on Discord, also just Arthanaw, but all you guys already know where I am because I get limitless messages from the community.
Yeah. I'm, of course, Turd Herder. You can find me at Turd Herder Hots on Twitter, and I think I'm Turd_Herder on Twitch. Riokaii, what about you? I think we already alluded to this. Where can the people find you?
So yeah, I'm Riokaii pretty much everywhere. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube now, apparently. Although there's lots of other like random videos and games on there. Been playing a lot of TFT, so there's probably going to be a couple TFT videos on there.
I was actually watching that the other day.
Yeah, I'm Riokaii on Discord. You can find me in way too many Discords. There's folders now. I needed those very badly. What else? I stream like 3 months out of the month or something. Just like throw 3 darts at a calendar, and that's probably when I'm streaming in that month.
3 months out of the month. Wow.
3 days out of the month. So, very intermittently streaming, completely random consistency on that, but you might be able to catch that every once in a while. So,
perfect. All right, guys. This is Turd Herder here saying adios, amigos. Remember to always stay safe in the Nexus and take your hots to the edge.